we can. So something to think about, and obviously this will be discussed at the leadership meeting, right, Sandy? Yeah. Anything else on your
You
mind?
bring it up, Mary.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So I have a question. Has I know we talked about not having COVID.
Yeah.
COVID,
Testing and.
is there a policy that's been written this year that's going to go out to the branch coordinators for COVID?
Yeah, isn't it on the website? I think.
Yeah, there's something on the website. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I think it's the most.
I think that it was in the latest update that Mary sent out and it's posted on the website.
Yeah, I think we rewrote we changed the parts in the policy that had to be changed, right? We had to.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's already been updated. It was
Yay.
approved by the
I'll have
board
to look
last.
because I don't think I got anything from Mary on it. So,
You can get on the website and get it.
all
Yeah,
right, I'll go on the website.
but the other thing to be careful about is the universities may have something totally different, and
Yeah,
you've
that's
gotta
what I have to
be,
check
And
on.
that's gonna supersede, so,
Right.
you know, that, you're gonna have to pay attention to your local requirements, and most of them are not requiring a lot of testing anymore, but some of them may require you to be up to date in vaccines, and that's the only thing that is different, is if they require you to be up to date versus fully vaccinated, we're stopping at fully vaccinated and not requiring the up to date part, which requires all the boosters that you can get. And so it's like, yeah, no, that's not, there are positive sides to having all the boosters. We agree with that, but trying to manage that whole process of whose booster is due when and how many months has it been and all, that's really a challenge. So I think it will be a lot easier. The only thing we are going to absolutely require them to do, they have to upload their COVID cards. You know, that's going to have to be, they'll fill in when they've had their doses, but they'll have to upload that too. Okay, thanks, Rebecca. Anything else on anybody's mind?
so we should hold off giving any of the branches any specific numbers until
All the MOUs,
after the 20th.
until after all the MOUs come in, because I
Right.
don't want to have a surprise like what Marie did and say, I don't want 6, I want 5. Meanwhile, you all juggled it to
Yeah.
make it spell mother.
Okay,
for 6.
okay.
And
But is it okay? And Becca left, but for us to give Livermore a call and just see if they want all their girls and they want them at one camp, if they would consider Fresno.
I think
Okay.
that's fine. I think that's what I heard from Becca.
Okay,
She has room and she can keep going up in her numbers, because I think in the past she has had as many as 100. I
Yeah.
believe, or 96 or something in 2019. Thanks, Susan.
Diane and Martha, if I could give you a little advice, which you do not have to take. I wouldn't be calling people now and telling them anything. If you were to talk to them at all, I would tell them that you will be in touch with them the first week of April and tell them when their girls can go and that. And I would tell them to make sure when they interview that they give them Fresno's dates and your 2 dates and make sure that those girls are able to go to any one of those weeks. And I'm just telling you that from my 10 years of doing 2 weeks at Santa Barbara. And taking campers from all the other camps that overflow if I can do that. So I'm just saying it's a little early. They haven't interviewed. They don't know how many qualified campers they're going to get in their interview. They don't know how many are going to be able to go with the dates, any 3 of them that you have. And so don't be so worried about nailing down that right now. And I know that's really hard. I know that's hard, but I would just tell them, you'll call them the first week of April. That way they've got their money in, they've done their interviews, they know when the girls can go, they've got their alternates. And then you just tell them I know that sounds awful, but you tell them when their girls are going.
I kind of agree with that. However, we have to, some of these people have asked for 12 campers. And we have
And
to tell them you only get 6.
And I get that. I
Mhm.
get that, but you might want all 12 of theirs.
No,
No.
no, there's no chance.
No.
You say
We-
that now. You
No,
say-
no,
no.
we've always, Susan, we've always, Davis has always left a limit. We're very different than Southern California in that way. I mean, we limit.
Yeah,
how
the max
many
is like
they're able to
7, 6 or
send.
7.
Yeah.
get all of that, but times are different. And I'm just saying, just tell them to stick them as alternates. This is how many you can have, stick them as alternates. You don't know who's going to be sick before they come to camp and you're going to have to call somebody. I mean, there's just so many variables that you don't have any control over. And rather than not being able to cover your cost, you want those girls in the wings to be able to call to have them be able to come.
Yeah, we've,
that
Yeah.
you're giving them false hope that they're going to be there. I'm not saying that at
Yeah.
all.
Well, and I think getting a little closer to the number than 160 girls for a camp with 90 is probably a
Yes.
good thing to start doing,
Right.
and then let
But
it
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
there's just so many,
Yeah.
and you can move them around, and you've got 3 great opportunities. I mean, you've got,
Four. You got 2 Sonoma camps, Fresno, and
well, I thought Davis was pretty much full, so I'm sorry, Davis, I did not mean to exclude you. I am all about the inclusion process, but I'm just saying, don't be in a rush to tell them their exact numbers, because
Yeah, do this, talk to the hand kind of a thing. Is that what you're saying, Susan? It's like, okay, I'll tell you in April. Yeah. I think that there are some very persistent branch coordinators that will keep bugging you until you give them a commitment. And so to the extent that, and there's some that say, I only want to send 2. That's pretty easy. I only want to send 4. That you know that you can satisfy them. And I don't see any reason why not having a conversation when the time comes. But I think
well, we always advise that they add, and Mary knows this, that they have alternates, several alternates,
Right.
and we have a wait list, that we keep, and we let them know you're on the wait list. If there is an opening, we will let you know. And we went through this last year, didn't we, Diane, where we were shoveling back, back and forth. So
Mhm.
it's not really new to us particularly, but I do think it does a disservice to the branch, having been a branch, coordinator. We kind of want to know what we're dealing with. I think anyways. So
Yeah.
I appreciate Susan's words of wisdom, but I'm not sure I'm going to follow them.
that's your.
I don't know. I'll talk to Diane. We'll figure it
Right,
out.
yeah,
But,
yeah.
Yeah.
And I know where she's coming from, but
It does sound like Fresno has a little bit of extra room. So
Yeah.
that's always going to be an option. It would be great if we could meet 90% of the demand, or 95% of the demand. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
looked to see how many we don't have taken care of. I'll have to look at that.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's down to like 50 something now, 50 total maybe. But if Becca says she can take a few more, well, I mean, if we could get it down to 30, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Then we're up to 95%. So, yeah, Valerie. You're on mute.
I just wanted to say that I think most branch coordinators realize that we may not get the numbers that we request. I think in the past, we have asked for 11 or 12 and maybe have gotten 9 or 10. I'm going back a few years. So I think it's understood that we may not get the exact number that we requested.
Mhm. I think that the thing that's going to be a little bit, so Martha and Diane are having to deal with new branches in the last 2 years that they've never had to deal with before.
Right, we had 17 and now we have 34, so.
Right,
Yeah.
so now they're working the relationship, no, between the two of you, you have 56 or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of branches that are going to one or the other or both. And
Yeah.
I think that makes it a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
And we also told them that we didn't have space for all their requests, right
Yeah.
off the bat, and that's why we were trying to get another camp. And
Yeah.
so I think they're pretty sympathetic about. or
Yeah.
Yeah,
empathetic.
they are. They are. I just don't know if some of them, like the Livermore, if it's more important for them to have all of their campers at one camp and to be able to, accommodate all their requests.
Right.
And if that's more important, so they'll go to Fresno, or if they would prefer,
Yeah.
and so if I was a camp director, I think I'd want somebody to call me and ask me that. I
Yeah.
don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's,
I mean, if you want me to, I can call as an impartial person and say, hey, what's your preference? I can send a note back to them.
okay. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter to me, but if, whatever you think would be most, what do you think, Diane?
Without making any commitments, just say,
No.
here, if you had a choice between sending all your campers to Fresno or only part of your campers to
And broken up a couple.
Right. And
you
then
know,
I
to-
did ask a couple if they wanted all their girls to be at one camp, as opposed to 2 Sonoma camps or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and most of the time, like for virtual camp, for the most part, I said "Pfft," on that. And if they came back afterwards and asked me to juggle things around, then I would move campers all to one camp. But I would say, no, divvy them up, what's the
Right.
difference, and you're likely to have girls that are going to be able to make 1 week and not another week, right, Pat? I mean, you've had that where you've had to flip them around between Blackwell
Yeah.
and Hypatia
Yeah.
because they couldn't make it 1 week, but they could make it the other week. So,
Yeah. And we did that last summer too, with some, that didn't get their COVID vaccines in time and all that stuff. So.
yeah, yeah. Okay, anything else? I think this was a good meeting. I think we took care of everything we needed to take care of tonight. What I would like is for everybody to think about what you want added to the committee meeting from February.
Are we going to talk about counselors, or did we talk about?
What do you want to talk about, counselors?
Well, we don't have to do it now, but I was just, like we're getting 2019 is sort of or 20 girls, depending on if they were involved in Tech Trek
Yeah.
virtually or not, or
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked a little bit about that. Diane was asking, how do we want to handle this if we've had campers that all they've done is gone to virtual camp? And they come back and maybe they're the right age, but they've never had any experience at a residential camp. And so one of my comments was, I think all coaches from the past couple of years should come to a virtual, if they were in a virtual camp, they should coach at a virtual camp and get that under their belt before thinking about going to UCSD or going to Whittier or going to one of the other, because we have to have some knowledge of their ability as a coach or a counselor or a mentor or a role model or whatever. We
Yeah.
have to have some way to say that person, beyond just, seeing them on a screen, that person is capable of doing something. What do you all think about that?
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier today, Diane and Stephanie and I, and talking also in terms of we, as a residential camp, we want to make sure the girls are comfortable being away for a week. I mean, it's very difficult, and so that could be it's a different experience altogether. And poor Mary, I'm sorry.
Too. So, I will say this though. They went through the process once. You were going to accept them as a camper, and especially the 2020 girls, you were
Yeah,
going
the 2020.
to the
Mhm.
residential camp. So I got to stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's something to think about. And I don't, there's probably a couple of coaches that that would like to do, they were 2020 girls
Mhm.
that I am, I already told one, if she comes and coaches this year, next year, she can go to UCSD. I've got one other that did 2020 coaching, 2021 and 2022, and I'm definitely going to recommend her for a
Yeah.
junior counselor.
Yeah.
Or-
I think that makes sense.
but that they're also, you know, you need to have that conversation with them. How comfortable do you feel being away from home?
Sure.
And I would say, especially if they're a couple of years later, they probably stayed away from home once or twice, you know, the family or some other thing where they've not been, only at home, but maybe not.
Yeah.
I think that, it truly should be up to you
Mhm.
as the camp director to decide what you think is the right thing to do, as long as they're within the age limits requirement. I don't really see any issue with,
Right.
you telling them, no, you got to have some other kind of experience, or let's wait till you're older, or whatever. Some of them will be persistent, and that's not a bad thing, right?
No, it's not.
I like persistence myself. Anything else? Anybody else got anything? Nothing. Sandy, can you stay on for just a second? Okay, then good
Thanks,
night,
thanks so
y'all.
much. So,
Thank you.
so Mary, just one more thing. You're going to reach out to
I will reach out
Livermore?
to them.
Okay,
I
okay.
will reach out to
And then
them.
we'll follow up. Okay, good
Okay.
enough. Thank you.
Nice
Thanks.
to see everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care of yourself, Mary.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll be in touch.
Okay.
Bye-bye.